Hi, BookTube. Welcome to Jackie's Literary Corner. And it's finally chilly out. Hey, it's finally cold out. It's not like too cold. It's still, but it's cold enough to wear long sleeves. And I was very happy that I got to wear this new outfit. I'm not a fashionista kind of person, but I still like cute. I still kind of like looking cute with my clothes and stuff, And I blame my mom and my sister for that. And then of course I've got last year I kind of got into wearing berets. I asked my mom to get them for me for Christmas. Although I have been wanting them since 2007 because that was the year we went to France during my spring break. My sister was studying abroad there. And then I was reminded how much I had originally wanted one when I saw, I think it was Reagan from Peruse Projects will wear them. So I get to wear my beret today. But anyway, so it is an overcast, not very sunny. There's a little bit of sun. I do believe there's rain coming in soon. I think when I checked last night, it said it would start around this time, but it hasn't started yet, so who knows if it will happen. If it does, then I guess those people, there's like a arts and crafts fair going on in the village, and I don't know how long that's going to last, but if it's still going on, then they're going to have to, move everything quickly if it starts to rain. But since it's arts and crafts, I don't think they'll be going on all day into the night because, arts and crafts, you want to look at it. And unless you have special lighting, you can't really look at it. So, fortunately, it's only today. It would have been perfect if it was going on tomorrow because then, not that it's kind of the kind of stuff that someone that I'm not interested in. They're nice stuff. It's nothing wrong with it. And there were some tote bags that were kind of cute. But it's something that I would only do, if, my parents hadn't, my mom wasn't working today and my dad didn't decide to go fishing today. And if my grandma was in town, then yeah, that I could see, or we had other friends, like my sister's friends or something, then yeah, I'd go do that. No, not necessarily, I don't know if my friends would be interested in it, but I know I'm not. So, but nothing against the stuff there. Some of the stuff is cute and nice. But it's a lot of, things that stereotypically you feel like an older person might appreciate more than someone my age. But I ended up going to the bookstore and hung out there for, an hour, I think. And I got a couple of books to continue with my Anthony Trollope collection, particularly his Barchester series. I've seen a couple books of his. I wasn't sure about it. The only problem is that because that store takes donated books, there's no guarantee that you're gonna find all the books in a series or new books there. But sometimes you get lucky. And I decided, and since it's cheap price, I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna go get it here, even if it's not the first book or the second book, although I did get the second book. I'm just gonna get it, and if I have to end up spending a lot more money at Books A Million, then so be it. As long as I stick to paperback, I'm good. And really, it's not like I spend my money on big things that much. Once a year, I'll spend my money on, the convention every year. And then if the family decides to take a vacation, then they're like, you're paying for your own ticket, because I'm 30 years old, so of course I'm going to pay for my own tickets. But that's only, that doesn't happen all the time, because those vacations, unless it's, if it's a vacation, when we went, a couple weeks ago when we went to Florida, or the cruise or anything, we don't do those that often, because they aren't, we're not the kind of people who are rich enough that we can go every year to Disney, or every year we can go on a cruise, that stuff gets expensive. And so we don't do those kind of vacations that often. And then other family vacations don't require like a lot of spending, because like we'll go to Solomon's Island, and we used to go to Solomon's Island in Maryland. We still have family in Maryland, or that are a lot closer to Maryland, North Carolina, so it's just easier for us to go up to stay with my sister and then go to hang out with my dad's family in Maryland. And then my mom's family is in South Carolina, so it's only 3 hours away. But anyway, back to their books. So, like I said, I don't spend a lot of money, so I think, I figure at least buying books is better than buying something else or being addicted to something that's bad for you health-wise. So the two I got 3 books actually. The Barchester Towers, which is the second book, and it is a different size. It's I believe this is considered mass market paperback. I know it's a really small print. But they are easy. These books are easier to hold and to travel with. So. And then the other one is the 5th book in the Barchester Chronicles. And actually, I think the one I got from the library, I didn't buy it, I borrowed it from the one I borrowed from the library is the 4th one. So, if I read the 4th one, unfortunately, it's too bad I can't keep it for too long. I eventually have to return it, so I can't exactly keep it. So, if I ever get a chance to go to Books A Million anytime soon, I might go ahead and I might just do that. I might return the library book and just get it from the library. But at the same time, though, I'm wondering if I could get away with reading them out of order if I wanted to. The only thing it might do is it might spoil things for me. But, sometimes it's hard for me to really figure out what's going on in a classic, so I might not even realize I'm being spoiled anyway. And I might not realize it until I read the book before that it's spoiling. So, but this is the second one, the Barchester Towers, and I guess it introduces the new bishop and his wife. Obadiah Slope is the bishop's chaplain. So I guess it has to do with the church in this town, and I'm guessing there's gonna be some drama and scandal or something. And then this one is a romance. It's a love story, but mixed with both requited and unrequited love. Disgrace, scandal, and near disgrace, with a delightful leavening of wit and social satire in a complicated but lively plot that has delighted generations of readers. So I'm not going to read any more of that. And then the other book I ended up getting was a hardback book, but I figured, I'll go ahead and pick it up there. And that is, and I don't know how to pronounce this, Heinze? Maybe Heinze, because I think it might be that because it is a German word. But this is Gregory Maguire's take on the Nutcracker story and how the guy became the Nutcracker. And I thought that would be one of the books I should read this Christmas. There's actually 2 books I think by Gregory Maguire that would be perfect for Christmas time. And that is this one that I just bought, and let's see if I can grab it easily. Where is it? Let me go and 1 second. Let me grab it. This book, Lost, by Gregory Maguire, and it is about this writer who her uncle might be connected to connected to Jack the Ghost, connected to Jack the Ripper. And I think there's also oh wait, no, not connected to Jack the Ripper, but she's writing a book about a woman. She's a writer writing a book about a woman that is haunted by the ghost of Jack the Ripper. And like her uncle, her great grandfather is supposedly the inspiration for Ebenezer Scrooge. So it's a bit of a, I think it's a bit of a mystery ghost story. So I thought it would be perfect for the winter time. So I think these two I might read starting November, December. I mean, I don't like to read new books I just bought right away, but I think I might break my rule and do that because I think both these books will be perfect for the winter time, particularly in December. I do need to read A Curse So Dark and Lonely too. I was looking at it. So those are the books I got today when I went to the bookstore. No, it's not that. It's Victober, week 2. So I just realized I don't think I did the hashtag Victober in my last video. I just titled it Victober week 1. So I gotta remember to do that when I upload this video. I gotta do the hashtag so that the other people participating in Victober will recognize my video. So I haven't continued. So when I end up doing that, normally when I go to bed, I have been reading the plays by Oscar Wilde. But I decided I need to finish this book because it's a library book. So I didn't finish it, but I decided I was reading a couple chapters last night before I fell asleep. So, in case you need a reminder, this Wuthering Heights, it doesn't have a cover. Unfortunately, I couldn't find this exact edition at the book on Goodreads, it's really annoying because you have to find the exact edition because there's certain editions have a certain number of pages. Like hardbacks versus paperbacks have a different amount of pages, and some of the editions have Bible thin pages, some of them don't. But I am at the point where so this is so like Emily Bronte. Charlotte Bronte is the one who wrote Jane Eyre. Emily Bronte wrote this one. I am just getting more and more frustrated with the two people in this, with Cathy and Heathcliff. I mean, they are such selfish, vain, arrogant people who is like it's everybody else's fault, but it's never theirs. You know, it's like, you did this to me. Yeah, I mean, Heathcliff was treated unfairly, horribly by these people, but it's not just, you can't blame everything on, like, Edgar and all the others. And, you know, I can't remember the other people, the people he lives with. You can't just keep blaming them and saying it's all their fault. Okay, he made the choice. He has free will. No one is forcing his hand to act the way he does. You know, no one's controlling his anger, and no one's controlling his emotions, no one's controlling his physical body movements. He is making the choice to do these things, to act this way, to feel this way. He's letting his anger control him, and his jealousy and obsessiveness. If anything, they are so obsessed with each other. They don't have real love. I mean, maybe they love each other to an extent, but their so-called love is more like an obsession, a passion, and a selfish love, you know, the kind of love where no one else can have them, but they can only have each other. No one else can have them. They don't share with anybody. And then, like, Cathy proceeds to dangle herself in front of these men, in front of Heathcliff, and then the other. And then he has the nerve to be like, and then, like I said, the sister was all into, when Heathcliff returned back into their lives, the sister was into him, and maybe it was naive of her, and she shouldn't have listened to Cathy and Nellie about Heathcliff, but at the same time, it's not entirely your fault. Heathcliff totally took advantage of her, and the only reason he chose to marry, she didn't force him into a marriage. She was not like, you're gonna marry me. She just, like, yeah, maybe she threw herself at him or whatever, but he could have chosen to push her away. He could have told her that, no, I don't love you at that point. Or he could have been like, I'm not gonna marry you. And maybe he could have even left the town, but he wasn't gonna do that because he loved Kathy, and to be near Kathy, his precious, perfect Kathy. He's all like, oh, it's Edgar's fault. He didn't love her. He couldn't love her like I love her. And it's like, I want to punch him in the face. And it's like, I hate him. And I hate her too. And like, so he's like, he proceeds to act like it's all Isabella's doing, that she was dumb enough to marry him. It's like, he could have told her not to marry him. He could have told her that he was in love with Kathy. He would never marry her. He could have, like, been like, no, we can't get married because I don't love you. But he chose to marry. I mean, he was the one who presented himself to her and was like, okay, let's get married. And the only reason he wanted to marry her was to piss off Kathy. And to be like, guess what? Now I'm gonna be your brother-in-law because I'm married to your sister-in-law. It's like, those two, they never take any credit for their wrongdoings. It's all everyone else's fault. Everyone else is too stupid. Everyone else is not as good as I am. Everyone's never as capable as I am. No one can love as strongly as I do. Or it's your fault, or you're the one that pushed me away. You're the me. It's like, it's never them. I cannot wait to see now when I'm done reading this, I cannot wait to watch this on screen and see Juliette Binoche, I think is the actress's name, who plays Kathy. And then Ralph Fiennes plays Heathcliff. I don't know who else is in the movie. But I can't wait to see them and see them perform all these lines and really make you despise these two even more so than you already do after you read the book. And there are things in this, like, there's one character that doesn't speak, like, he doesn't speak in traditional, like, English. Like, I don't know where he's from, but it's very hard to read his dialogue because sometimes I can't tell what the words are. Sometimes I can figure it out. Like, he says heaven, like, spelled, which, in other words, he wants to say heaven. So sometimes I can figure it out, but sometimes it's such a hassle because, and no disrespect, and I understand, it shows the authenticity of the story and the setting and everything, and no disrespect, I'm not saying I shouldn't at least put in the effort, but sometimes I just want to, like, skip that because it's so challenging, it's so hard to read, and it reminds me of, like, In Their Eyes We're Watching God, where sometimes, which, I understand why the author did that, to make it seem real, but it is a bit more harder to read. I'm not saying that you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't do that. Try to do that if you can, if you know how to, like, like with Scottish dialect, for instance, it's the same kind of thing, where it's not written in what the kind of English that we're used to. So we should put in the effort to try to read it. It's just, I admit, it kind of slows me down because I'm trying to read it and figure out what exactly this person is saying. But it's hard. So really most of my, well, actually no, I brought I was craving some pumpkin spice. Although that's definitely a drink that you only want to drink, I only want to drink this time of year, in October. Because I'll eat pumpkin pie, but pumpkin spice drink, it has a certain flavor that's not always, like, I only like it this time of year. The rest of the time of year, it's like, it becomes too much. There was actually, I can't remember what the trope, it was, not trope, it was, I couldn't remember what the tag is, but I think it's the Halloween song tag, although some of the questions didn't have to do with weren't songs, because I guess there's not a lot of Halloween-esque songs. There's I Put a Spell on You, there's the Monster Mash, there's the Addams Family theme song, There's This Is Halloween from Nightmare Before Christmas. There are a handful of songs, but the one holiday that has the most theme songs for it is Christmas. Like, Christmas has, and I'm sure there's all the songs, the religious songs about all the Christian songs that you sing about Jesus, the birth of Jesus, and all that. And then you have all the Christmas carols. There are Christmas has so many songs, and then I don't know if there's even a song to celebrate the Jewish holiday, the dreidel song, or I mean, granted that might be one that Adam Sandler just made up. Although they mention it I think they mentioned the dreidel song in Buffy and the Vampire Slayer in season 3. In season 3 was because Cordelia's talking about going skiing for Christmas. I remember that episode, and Buffy and Angel still struggling with their feelings and stuff, and Buffy runs into Angel while he's walking around town, and because he's being attacked by the first evil bastards. But anyway, so yeah, of course, this book is so good and so interesting. Now, I know that not everybody's, dysfunctional couples are not everybody's cup of tea, but I love dysfunctional couples. They're so interesting. I mean, of course, I know the only reason why I'm reading this particular one is because it's a classic. I won't read contemporary dysfunctional couples, but if it's in another genre that's not a romance or not a contemporary story, then I like reading about messed up characters, basically. I loved reading If We Were Villains of Such in The Secret History. Both those were awesome, and now I don't know. I mean, granted, maybe if Terry was sorry, I know I keep talking about her, but she's one of my best friends. But I don't know if she would. I should ask her. I mean, I don't know if she would actually like it, because maybe if she was mentally prepared and was told this is not a romance, it's a tragic story. It's not gonna end well, and these people are so screwed up and such selfish people, so it's not relationship goals. Maybe if she knew ahead of time, maybe she would. But I made the mistake of warning her. There was that there was a bit of a love triangle that develops in the Court of series by Sarah J. Maas, and that the guy what's his name? I can't think of his name, and I can't remember his name. Tamlin is not the guy she ends up with. She's with him by the end of that first book, but she doesn't end up with him in the second book. He's not in game, and that ended up being kind of ruined the appeal of the book for her, because she can't stand love triangles like most people do. But with her, she won't even read if the book has a love triangle in it. Now, this one does not have a love triangle in it. It kind of does. Actually, yeah, it kind of does. Because both Edgar and Heathcliff love Kathy. Although, I don't know why Edgar loves her. I can understand Heathcliff's love for her, because they are so much alike. It's not even funny. But Edgar, I don't know why. I guess because a lot of times we do fall in love with people that are bad for us. And we end up screwing up our lives for those people because we love them so much, even though they don't deserve our love. But anyway, so those are all my thoughts. Like I said, I haven't read it. I'm on Act 3, which I need to read now. I'm gonna have to read this today, along with The Nightingale. I still have not started that one, but I want to start that one now. At least have it started before the next time I return my books. And who knows, maybe I'll get so into it that I'll be able to return it along with Wuthering Heights. That's what I always try to do. I always try to at least have one of my library books done before the day that they're due back. So we are reading a Woman of No Importance. And in this, like I said, in this one, it's an American woman comes to England. They this English woman, Lady Caroline, kind of takes her in, presents her to the world, and she's currently staying at Lady Caroline's house, and they're talking about, and basically kind of compares the, what's the word? There's a word I'm trying to think of, compares the moral, people's American and English moral codes of conduct, how they, not codes of conduct exactly, but how their belief, social beliefs, or I can't think. I'll remember the word I'm thinking of a little later today, but just how they do things and how they act, and Hester does not like. She's never a very good opinion of the English and how they are and what they. She's believes in the working class. In the English, they have that mentality. It's more about class and status, and they don't value like the physical work. They, like, the rich are just rich because they have money. They're not working class people. And they kind of make fun of that concept, and in Downton Abbey, that kind of looks at that too, because you have the family, the Crawley family, who are just lucky enough to be wealthy, and the family patriarch has a title and all that, but then you have one of the daughters marries this Irishman who is of a working class, and he looks at he's a socialist, in fact, and he sees things very, very differently, and there's this social divide between his in-laws and him. But by the end of the series, he really becomes part of this family, and they understand there are going to be some differences, but they still have grown to care about him, and he's their brother-in-law and son-in-law. So it's and then in Act 2, we are introduced to a little bit of a plot, a little bit of an intrigue type plot, where someone's father is revealed, to at least to the audience, but not to the son. So that was very interesting. That caught me I was a little surprised. I was like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't realize that there were going to be that kind of drama, like, in this type of story. I didn't know what to expect, because I never read any of. The only thing by Oscar Wilde I had read before this month was I read The Picture of Dorian Gray for a book club with my friend and my sister, which is the smallest book club ever. It was a small book club. It's also when I read that Stephen King short story, The Long Letters. We read that one as well, during that time. But so that was very interesting. So I got to read. I have 2 more acts to go. I'm going to read these today along with The Nightingale, which is not Victorian literature. And then the last piece of Victorian literature I started reading. So I was going to bring, I think I don't know if maybe I was just thinking I did already tell you guys this, because I was practicing what I would say in the latest video, or I can't remember, but I was going to bring Rebecca with me. I had been bringing Rebecca with me to work, because my copy is a small mass market paperback, but I couldn't find it, because at the time I had redone my whole bookshelf and basically took all the books off and put them over on the other side of my room, the other corner. All the books I had read, which it's embarrassingly, compared to all the books that I haven't read. Granted, I guess I could have thrown in there the books I had read that I'm going to reread at some point. It was a small collection of my books. Most of my books now are books that I have not read. So basically, my whole bookshelf, if I had done what Holly Hart's books did, which is she turned all of her unread books, I don't know where she got the idea from. I think she got it from somewhere else. And she turned all her books around so you saw the pages first instead of the spines of all her unread books, and then once she read the book, she would turn the spine around so you could see the spine. And unfortunately, that would be like almost all my bookshelf would be like that. Would be all turned around if I did that, and it would be kind of embarrassing actually. And having to admit to having to tell my mom to show that to my mom would make it even more embarrassing. Yes, she does not like me constantly buying books. In fact, I think she would prefer I go to the library. But you know what? It's not the fault that the library doesn't have this library does not have a huge collection. I don't know about the other library. I keep meaning to, I keep thinking about asking her to take me to that library, but then this library is 15-minute walk, or 10-minute walk. Well, I don't think it's exactly 5 minutes, but I think this might be 10 minutes, and then going to the bookstore might be 15 minutes. I'm gonna have to tell that to my friend Virginia from work about that, because I told her that it takes me 10 minutes to get to the bookstore, but actually it might take me 10 minutes to get to the library, and then 15 to get to the bookstore. So, but yeah, she would rather I go to the library, but again, it's not my fault that collection is not that big. It's just, it's easier to walk to there than, if I want to go to the other library, if the other library happened to be bigger. And I don't have any reason to go, to go drive all the way to the other library. So, but one day I would like to check it out. It's kind of hard, and I would have to probably use Lyft to get to the library, because and I would definitely stay at that library longer. Hopefully it would be a bigger library, because I would probably end up having to stay there for a long time. I mean, who knows, maybe we can, next time my mom has errands to run or something, maybe we can go up there, because I want to see it. I mean, my mom was saying it's bigger, I think. But anyway, so when I went up there, I ended up bringing this one. It was the first one I spotted, so I grabbed it. And I've been meaning to read it for Victober anyway, because Bleak House, I'm never going to get that done by the end of this month. Especially with how slow as I'm reading it. So I ended up deciding to pick up this one, Great Expectations. But funnily enough, when I was there, I spotted a nice edition there, with those editions with the really pretty covers that aren't just like this, but not just generic covers, but they were like a little pretty, like it has the silhouette of, I'm guessing, Pip and Estelle, I want to say. Unless there's another love interest for him, Pip. But anyway, from what I know, it's basically about this boy, Pip, who he's an orphan. He was raised by his sister, but I don't know if something's gonna happen to her, or if he's gonna run away from home or something. I mean, it says he's an orphan, so I'm guessing maybe something happens to her. Or, although I guess he's technically still would be an orphan, because she's not his legal, I don't know if she would be his legal guardian or not. She's just his sister, but anyway. And then as an adult, years later, he receives money inheritance from a mysterious benefactor, and he thinks it is the money he inherits from this older woman who has, I think, a granddaughter or a daughter named Estelle, and she treats Pip like crap. It's funny that Charles Dickens says that. This reminds me of, this kind of reminds me of Oliver Twist, where you have the main young boy character / young man, because he does grow up in the story, who was treated like crap by everybody else, and they're like, you're ungrateful, you're a nuisance, go away, we don't like you, it kind of explores the same themes about people treating. It kind of explores the same themes of being this young orphan being treated like crap by the people who take care of him. We're supposed to take care of him. And he has to overcome adversity situation, which I guess that's probably something that Dickens explores a lot. And what's great about this edition is not just that it's easily portable, but also apparently, like at the last minute, Dickens decided to change the ending of this novel, and in this one, it has the original ending in it. So I'll have to see both endings. I'll have to read both endings to see which one I like better. You know how all these books sometimes they have a list of a lot of classics? Well, I decided to, since I ended up marking off all the ones I've read, like Beowulf. I read that one. I DNF Little Women because it was too like sentimental for me, too like sweet, sugary, sweet kind of story. I DNF'd it. I read Persuasion, Pride and Prejudice, Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen. I read Peter Pan, and I still have that. I put that away because I'm going to give that one day to Harrison and Daniel. Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I haven't read Villette yet. But I've heard some positive things about that. It's a lot of people's favorite. I'm currently reading Wuthering Heights, as I talked about earlier in this video. I've read Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass. My edition, I think it might be a Bantam Classics edition. It has both of them in there because they're short enough. So. Yeah, I think both this and Wizard of Oz are Bantam Classic editions. So I read that one, and I like Alice's Adventure in Wonderland, but it's very interesting because in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland and Through the Looking Glass, there are aspects that basically, in a lot of movies, they take from the Looking Glass and include it in Alice's Adventures in Wonderland. And it's like there's some things that aren't in the original that were included in the movie that aren't introduced until Through the Looking Glass. I don't remember which things, but I thought that was really interesting. I had to read the Canterbury Tales, and I am still bitter because basically we spent so much time on that one that we didn't even get the chance to go to like Gulliver's Travels, and we didn't get to focus as much on Hamlet. We barely focused on Hamlet because it was like towards the end of the semester, and we would be and what's really annoying is most of those students were probably in there just because they had to take a class. They had to include that on their college resume, and that they didn't really care about it. There may be like 2 or 3, including myself, that actually cared and were actually interested in Hamlet. And and they probably, if I had done that, like, and I think I at least did it once, that when someone is annoying, I want them to shut up, I kind of glare at them. Turn to look at them and glare at them. Not that it does any good, because why would my glare really affect them? And it didn't. They basically were very amused and snickered at my glaring. It's like, I actually care about this. And it's not like I could just tell them to shut up while the movie's still going on. I mean, but anyway, I am mad about that, and so I'm gonna have to, but anyway, so, and when we were doing Canterbury Tales, I made the mistake of because I didn't care, I mean, some of the stories were kind of funny, but once I understood them and knew actually what was going on in the story, but I made the mistake of skipping one of them, and then, surprise, that was the one where she actually had a surprise quiz for us, and I totally failed at that. So, no one to blame but myself. At least, though, in this case, it doesn't really matter as much. I still got an A or a B in the class. Just the one time I got a failing grade. And then I read in one of my college other literature classes. We read The Awakening by Kate Chopin. I haven't read any of her other selected short stories. I keep hearing a lot about Wilkie Collins as The Woman in White. It's so funny that it's so funny because now I constantly hear about these classics, and it's like people don't like reading them because they are like, oh, it's so boring. We had to study them inside and out, and it kind of ruins classics. Red Badge of Courage by Stephen Crane. I read that of my own accord. It's one of the few war books I've read. It was a quick read, so it was okay. I'm glad I read it, at least to say that I read it. I'm working on Bleak House. A Christmas Carol I read, but that one, and I'm currently reading Great Expectations. I did see Hard Times there. A Christmas Carol, one of those ones that, even if you never actually read the physical book, you hear about that one so much. Yep, my dad. It's my dad. You hear about that one so much that you don't even have to read the novel to know the story. Like, if you're not interested in reading the novel because Dickens is an author that's not easy to read, like, just watch a movie. It's still the same story. I mean, some screenwriters might take liberties, but it's, basically the same story. And then my dad was in a community theater production. He was the Ghost of Christmas Present, which is really cool. I just finished Oliver Twist. And I don't have a Brothers Karamazov. Oh, Tale of Two Cities. That was the first Dickens I ever read, and I absolutely loved it. It was one of my favorites. I want to reread it again. Crime and Punishment. I just read that earlier this year, and I really liked it. I started it at the end of last year, I believe, and then I finished it this year. It was really good. It was a really interesting plot, and Notes from the Underground. I do have that. I have Sherlock Holmes Volume 1 and Sherlock Holmes Volume 2. I'm in the middle of The Count of Monte Cristo. I guess that is a DNF, The Three Musketeers, because I did read the first 3 chapters. Just wasn't into it. I'm working on Middlemarch. Of course, I read Diary of a Young Girl. Who hasn't? I DNF'd The Hunchback of Notre Dame. It was kind of boring. I did not realize that really it's about this guy talking about how much he loves Paris, and the Hunchback just plays a part. Portrait of a Lady was a DNF. I'm trying to get this done before my dad walks in, because he's gonna. A Separate Piece, I read that twice now. I actually saw Sons and Lovers at the bookstore today, and I don't know if I saw Women in Love or not, but I know I've seen Sons and Lovers. But A Separate Piece, I read that one. That was okay. It's kind of interesting. To Build a Fire, I got that story read to me, actually. That's a Jack London. My sister has The Prince, I think. I DNF'd. I don't know if you would count Moby Dick, but I don't know if I ever actually started reading that one or not, so I don't know if I could count that as a DNF. Of Human Bondage, that's one that was mentioned on Buffy, actually, when in season 4, when that night after her first day of college, the guy that she meets, who was actually played by the same actor who played Oberyn on Game of Thrones, who got his eyes gouged out, thumbed out. I did not realize that was him, but he talked about Of Human Bondage and said that was kind of his security blanket. He loves the book. But I've heard a lot about these. The Telltale Heart, I think that's another one that I'm not sure if I read that one or not. I think I did. Frankenstein, I just read recently. I heard about Ivanhoe because Oh, actually, I watched the movie version of Avatar. I didn't actually read the book. It kind of fit the Canterbury Tales in that same time period. Frankenstein, I just read that and I love that book. I definitely recommend reading the book because yeah, the movies are great and everything. I'm sure. Sam and I've never really watched the movies, but I know like what they do in the movies and stuff. I've seen bits and pieces. Um, but the book, the Frankenstein monster, the creature is very different than the way he's portrayed in movies. He's not a brute, an idiotic brute. He has a lot of intelligence. Dracula I read, did not like it. Kind of boring. I would just rather see the Bram Stoker. Bram Stoker's the author. I think Stanley Kubrick was the director of the movie. I would rather see that one. And then the 2000 movie with Christopher Plummer as Van Helsing. Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I want to try that one out. I didn't like Treasure Island. It's on here, actually. I DNF'd it. But I want to read Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. I have Anna Karenina, and I have The Death of Ivan Illich. The Adventures of Huck Finn and Tom Sawyer. Both those I did, and I read with them. It's kind of boring. Let's see. I don't have any of the Jules Verne books. I've heard a lot about them, and I've seen movie interpretations. I'm familiar with movie interpretations, but I'm kind of curious, but I don't know if I'll be. I'm curious about The Island of Dr. Moreau, too. I read a book that was kind of a retelling for a YA retelling of it, which was interesting. I remember really liking it. Time Machine, I actually read that one years ago. It was okay. Very different from the most recent movie interpretation. War of the Worlds, I've seen the movie with Tom Cruise. Not the original movie, but the Tom Cruise version. Ethan Frome, I read that one, and I actually have a collection that I got from the library that includes that one. I did not like Ethan Frome, though. I thought it was kind of boring. Oh, actually, that might be the one I have that I got from the library. That's kind of cool. Night, I read that one, because, you gotta read at least one book about the Holocaust in school. So I read that one. I really liked it. I used to have it, but then we donated it, I believe. I think my sister has it now. I don't know if that's my copy or not. Original. Maybe she took it. And then Picture of Dorian Gray. I read that one. It's the only other. So I just wanted to read that, mark off all the ones I read. But anyway, that is my Victober update. So, as always, if you guys are participating in Victober, I would love to know what you have to say and what you read for what you are reading for Victober. If you like this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click subscribe if you happen to be just passing through it and you decide to watch this video. And I hope you're enjoying your reading, whether you are reading Victorian literature or not. And I will talk to you all later. Alright, bye!